Hola, mi nombre es Patricia y esto es El Arte del Amor Propio, un espacio donde iremos descubriendo la obra maestra que tú eres y el arte de amarte cada día más para vivir la vida que hoy sueñas. Acompáñame en tu journey de amor propio. Welcome everybody to another episode of The Art of Self-Love. As always, I am so happy and honored to be here having important conversations that will hopefully be supporting you in healing and growing in your own self-love journey. Today, I have a very special guest, and I am so happy to have her here present with me in the studio. Hello. She is a breathwork facilitator and life coach with specialties in trauma resolution and also hosts retreats. She is Brielle Basil. Thank you, Brielle, for being here.
So good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, for sure.
Excited to talk. I know we've been connected for a while, so to get to talk on this level is exciting.
Yes, I mean the work that you do is for me very impactful. When I had the chance to do breathwork with you back in 2020, it was so powerful. I didn't know what to expect at all, but it was really healing for me. It was really deep work that I knew that I wanted more of, and that I knew that people should open themselves up to also doing. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
So I really want to jump into your journey.
Sure.
What led you to breathwork? Because It's not something that, at least here in Latin America, that we see often. So
Totally. So I was introduced to breathwork in 2017, and I was living in Colombia at the time. And I was going through a coaching certification program, and the owner of the program I was going through, she was launching a second business of breathwork. And she said, who wants to come along with me? I'm going to take like 10 people. We're going to try out like a breathwork journey. I'm going to take you through 10 breathwork sessions. And she kind of explained what it was. And she said, this could be really good for healing, for if you struggle with anxiety, stress, you want more self-love, you want to improve your relationship with yourself, you want to transform past traumas. And I was intrigued. A lot of times, like I was already on my healing journey, and anytime the ability to try something new comes up in healing, I'm intrigued. I want to try it. Like, yes, I want to try all the things. And so it resonated with me. At the time, I was a teacher, and I was not loving my job. I love children, but I was dealing with things with bosses and coworkers that was really taxing on my emotional health. And I was anxious going to work every day. I was stressed out. I was worried about my job. I can remember going to work every day, like having a stomach ache, like physically feeling ill because I, needed to stand up for myself in ways I had never done before. And I didn't know how to do that. So when this breathwork thing came along and it said, find inner confidence and inner peace and clear past traumas. And I kind of knew there's something for me that makes it difficult for me to speak my truth, to be bold, to be big, to be courageous and have those conversations. I was like, okay, let's try the breathwork thing. Maybe this is like some type of path into that. And so I tried it, and I think 2 weeks, 3 weeks in, I was hooked. I was like, what is this? I loved it. And I immediately kind of got positive feedback from it, because immediately I realized how much I could release and let go of and kind of surrender into, which I had never at that point found another healing modality that allowed me to surrender. Yeah. I was looking at, okay, I'm supposed to surrender, but how do you do that?
Yeah. What does that mean?
What does that mean? How do you actually do that? Yeah. Right. And with breath work, it was beautiful because really all you're doing is breathing and being guided by a facilitator. And it, allows when you're breathing in this activated way, you are allowed to get into the nervous system of your body where you store trauma and release suppressed emotion. And for me, I had a lot of suppressed emotion because I didn't feel as a kid. It wasn't safe. Wow. So it opened up a lot for me. It released a lot of trauma. And I've been practicing now 5 years and have been facilitating for 4 years. And I knew once I got into it, it was something that I had to share with the world. So that's why I chose to become a facilitator, because it's just absolutely impacted my life in every single facet.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I feel like a lot of women will resonate with what you said with, there's so many emotions that we store in our bodies and we're never taught to how validate our emotions. Like on our way here, there was actually something in my family's group chat where my grandmother was asking, she sent a video, whatever videos that we share, that we forward, and she forwarded a video of a man saying, you can learn how to process and regulate your emotions. Like in the past, people used to react so much, and now you can just become much more emotionally intelligent. And she was asking, how do I learn how to do that? And I was just like, I didn't know that she was making an actual question. Like I thought it was a rhetorical question because of the reference of the video. And then she was like, I'm asking seriously, like
how do I do that?
Yeah, like how do I do that? And on my way here, I'm responding through the group chat, and I'm like, it's impressive that, I'm her granddaughter, and I can give her this wisdom where, it's just like, you need to sit with your emotion, like find some place alone, sit with it. And for me, I know what breathwork is, and I was lucky enough to be exposed to like breathwork, yoga, meditation, all of these healing strategies that allow me to embody my emotions and transform.
Totally.
And we're doing this. I couldn't be doing this if I hadn't learned. And when you look back on women, generations, it's like there's so much stuck. There's so much, so many things that their bodies are holding in, especially in Latin America. And it
gets passed down from generation to generation. We have generational trauma as well. And so it's not only like we learned by seeing our mothers and their mothers as we were children, it was modeled, but also it wasn't safe. And that's the thing that, I think breathwork and a lot of the clients that I work with is they come to me and they don't feel safe to feel their emotions. It's this big unknown woo scary thing because they've never done it. And so with breathwork, you can really start at because I've been, trained in a trauma-informed way, and I've also done additional trauma trainings, I know how to work with, people's emotions and their nervous system so that they don't have too big of an experience, too big of an emotional experience when they're starting out, because that could actually scare them off. That could actually make them say, whoa, this was too much. I've never felt that much and I need to back off. So there's a way in which, I do it that allows people to find safety to feel bit by bit.
Because it's a learning process, and you do a fantastic job of holding the space. Like when I did it back then, I really felt at peace. I really felt, that I could trust this space. And even though for me, it was like, I'm just trying this new thing.
No,
and
I love hearing that.
like we were at home and that when we were quarantined, like your whole family's there, right?
Absolutely.
Even though I was locked in my room, I was like, I really want to scream, but I don't want my mom.
That's where I tell people, grab the pillow. Have a pillow in your bag.
I was like, I don't want my mom freaking out about like, what am I doing? Because that's actually, because that was actually the same year that I started not only healing myself in terms of, things that I've been doing for the past years, but that's the year that I also knew about generational trauma. Like I learned for the first time what it meant to do generational trauma, and I've been doing constantly generational trauma. So I feel like when my grandmother was asking me that this morning, I was like, there are things coming through, like she's allowing herself to,
and
to
she's starting to do that because she sees the impact of what you're doing, right? So many times I think we want to fix our family members and teach them the ways and help them to heal. And I've been on that path before. And it's like, the more I let go of that and just do my work and be the embodiment of the work, the more they actually come along at their own time and in their own way.
That's completely true, because my grandmother is a very religious woman, and for me, it's like there's so many values and beliefs that I've evolved from where she starts in, in right now. And it's, she'll never, if I come and talk to her about it, I know that she will have resistance. Right. But what it's done is because I've given her the space and she knows that I have this podcast and she listens to it, once in a while. I don't really know what episodes she listens to or whatever, but she does know the work that I'm doing. And I did actually, as a life coach, she once asked me, like, what do you actually do? And give me an example, like use me as an example. So for me, it is very meaningful to see my grandmother just opening up for her own sake, that healing. And because even for Latin American women, it's just, I don't know, there's like a deeper fiber there. There's a lot of things that we've passed on generation to generation. And I feel so glad.
And there is too for Americans, but I think culturally there's different stories and different, fears and belief systems, and you add religion into it, and all these things get passed down in our society as a whole, but then culturally more specific beliefs and stuff related to that culture.
Yeah, for sure. Especially
or just
as women.
Ancestral.
Exactly. And
depending
especially
on where you come from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the circumstances of your life as well. Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
Yeah. So you said that you started doing this in 2017, and then you started facilitating the workshops in 2018.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. And you host retreats.
Yes, I do.
Yes. When's the next retreat?
I'm planning one right now with Margot, who was just in here recording
the other day.
Go. We haven't set the date yet.
Okay.
But it will in the next few months.
Okay.
In the next few months, we'll have a date.
I'm so excited.
Retreats are the thing that actually bring me the most joy in my business. I have hosted 2 here, and I was kind of waiting after I had my son. I had my first baby in April. I was waiting to see when will I want to get back into work. And so it's been a slow return for me back to work, working with just very minimal clients right now. And when will I want to get back into retreats? And it's like, okay, I'm ready. My son's 4.5 months old, and it's like, it's time to start planning. I know I'm going to be ready by the time it comes around. And I truly do. They're my absolute favorite thing, to be with people in person and connect in person. I can do a lot of my work online, but I really love the in-person work.
Yeah, I resonate with that as well, because I'm doing the podcast, but at the same time, it's like, I wish I could have all of my viewers and listeners.
Everyone in a big room.
Yeah, in a big room, because I'm a people person. We're both teachers for a reason. I feel like it has a lot to do with that person-to-person energy.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited for that retreat.
Yeah, so I'll keep you posted. We'll keep everyone posted if anyone wants to come.
Yes, for sure. Brielle, I really want to go back into something that we were talking about earlier, especially for us women, and it's connected to your journey with breathwork, which was, in the past, you didn't know how to show up, how to ask for what you wanted. You didn't know how to put limits. You made yourself small. Tell me a little bit more about that Brielle that used to be, and how, in retrospect, what are the things that you now understand more about your journey because of the work that you've done?
That's beautiful. 3 different things you said, and these are all traumas, right? All this stuff goes back to childhood. And when I talk of trauma, I like everybody to know we all have it, okay? It's not this big, scary thing. You didn't have to necessarily have, a sexual abuse or domestic violence. It doesn't have to be that. Yes, that is trauma. And we all have trauma. We all have experienced
to different levels,
trauma.
But we do have trauma. Yes.
Right, exactly. So for me, learning to speak my truth, learning to express myself, being small, that is a trauma, right? As a kid, when I shared my bigness, or I shared my creativity, or I, wanted to express in these big ways, it was shut down. It wasn't received well. My parents, not the fault of theirs, but didn't know how to hold space for my bigness, for my big emotions. It triggered them because that was passed down again through the generation, right? And so looking back at the unworthiness I felt, that was a traumatic wound, right? That was from me having needs as a younger child and them not getting met. Because let's face it, parents, and now I know this as a parent, we can't meet 100% of our kids' needs 100% of the time. It's not realistic.
And that's okay. Like, be able to recognize that and accept that.
Exactly. We all come here to experience contrast. That is like what we're on Earth School doing.
Yes, it's part
and some
of it.
people are open to doing the work and some people are not. And that's okay. And they'll come back another lifetime and have another go at it, I believe. So, you know, looking back at it, it's like the unworthiness, the fear of expressing myself and being in my bigness, the fear of putting up boundaries, because if I had those boundaries, maybe people wouldn't like me. That all stems back from my childhood. Those were all traumatic. And it wasn't even just like a one-time traumatic event, right? That was just the message
that you kept
energy that was I continued to receive, be it through my parents, be it in school, be it wherever. It was the message that I received of like, people can't hold my bigness. It's too much, or I'm not worthy to have my needs met because they're not getting met. You know, I had a need to play and express and create and be more out of the box. But I was so, you know, you go to school and you're put in this limitations, and, you know, with my parents, this is the way you need to dress, that you need to go to church and you need to look like this. And when we go to grandma's house, you better not say that. And you've got to act like this.
Yeah. There's a whole script that you need to follow.
Exactly. Yeah. And you need to align and obey to what we say. And so that really cut off my self-expression.
Yeah. Because it shuts down your curiosity as a kid, and hence it shuts off any possibilities that would open up from that creativity, from that inquisitiveness of you wanting to answer questions of life. And
Absolutely.
As a teacher, and I feel like you might resonate with this, like for me, it was super important to always create a space for my students to explore. The first thing, well, you know, like I used to be a dance teacher, and my dance studio was a full, clear classroom where everybody that went through the hallway would see what we would be doing in. And so the first thing I would say is like, you know what? One, nobody has a right to judge what's happening in here. Like, if they want to judge it, then ask them to have the courage to come in.
Right.
And two, it's like we need to open ourselves up for vulnerability and failure, because without failure, we will never learn. And we are all here to learn.
I love that you're teaching them that you were teaching them that, and that you continue to teach people that.
Well, yeah,
you know?
Because I feel like the school system is very restrictive, and it's exactly what you were saying, you know. We've evolved in terms of how we are educating our children. Thankfully, there are a lot of, you know, conscious parenting, and there's an awakening in general. And Dr. Shafali, I don't know if you know her, I love how she brings forth certain conversations, but there's still a lot of unlearning to do.
There's
and
a lot.
Relearning.
Yeah, especially with the generation, you know, of our parents that had us. Like, but we are the generation that is like figuring this out and figuring out that we get to be who we are and express, and we don't necessarily maybe have to have this 9-to-5 job or be in this box or do this or that.
We're breaking
patterns. We're breaking patterns, but we have to unlearn all this stuff. And we, you know, it was something that I spoke about the school that, you know, I was teaching in Colombia. And at that point in my journey, I was able to see this is not happening to me. Things don't happen to me. They happen for me. And I was able to take the situation, the kind of emotional abuse I was enduring from my bosses, and see that as my soul came here actually to learn how to express and stand up for myself. And even though I didn't know how to do it as a child, I am learning it now, or I am being tested to learn it now. And I had been tested before on this, and I kept going, running away from it, running away from it, running away from it. That's scary. That's scary. That's scary. So it kept coming back. The universe kept providing more and more and more opportunities for me to actually step into my boldness and have the courageous conversation and stand up for myself. So finally, at this point in my journey, and I started breathwork, and I was connected with more women that were doing the thing, that were standing up for themselves, which was a huge part of my journey.
So you were able to see them also model that for you.
Exactly.
Which you've never had before.
Exactly. I had friendships of teachers in Colombia, of like really powerful women. And so being surrounded in those communities, of seeing people do something I hadn't done, but knowing that I want to live that way, I want the freedom that can bring, encouraged me. And I was ready enough at that point in my journey. And also the work I was doing internally got me to the point where I go, okay, enough is enough. And now it's time to learn this lesson, to stand up for myself, to speak to my boss, to have the courageous conversation, and to say, hey, I can't be treated like this.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you did, because one of the things that I try to bring to the message overall of like self-love that I'm speaking about here in the podcast and through my social media is the fact that everybody has a talent, everybody has a lesson to learn, but also everybody has a gift that we came here to one way or another harness to serve
multiple gifts.
Yes. To serve our community and to literally co-create our existence. And it's been coming back and back and back, which I love through every guest, that, there was a moment of reckoning. There was like a rock bottom. There was a moment of reckoning. There was a moment of self-empowerment again, of healing, and then saying, you know what, I can do something with this. And now they're literally serving the community. And that's what you're doing with, opening up the space for so many women to feel safe, to be taught and be led to how to feel something as basic in the way that, basic because we live with it, because it's part of our human condition, but so important and so complex at the same time, which are our emotions.
And if you don't know how to live with it, you turn to other behaviors to mask it, right? Which was the place I was in for a really long time, in destructive behaviors with food and alcohol and, my body and all of those types of things.
Yeah. And society also makes it so easy for you to fall back on those too, because of, the consumer, social media, the constant need to show up perfect.
Absolutely.
It doesn't bring up the space to actually sit down with yourself and be conscious
about. Real.
Yeah, be real.
Vulnerable.
Yes. So I really love that you're doing that, because, Thank you. Like, this conversation is for my audience to be able to say, oh, this is something I can do, constantly bringing different things so that they can choose what works for them. Because for you, it was breath work. For me, it was meditation and yoga, even though I later,
I've done a lot of meditation and yoga as well. And I do other things besides breath work as well. Like I just had an Akashic record reading the other day. I do hypnosis. Like I do so many things. Breath work is like the one thing I always kind of come back to, because it has been such a huge transformational part of my journey. But like I said, I love to try all new healing modalities, and there's not just one thing.
Yes.
And I guess I want to say to the audience, if you try something on your healing journey and that one thing doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't mean you can't heal.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't mean like you're broken or you need fixing or any of that. You are whole and you don't need fixing. There's just an unlearning that gets to happen. And you get to be the one that decides and experiments with different methods and try on things and say, okay, maybe this is not working, but I'm going to try this.
Yes.
Or maybe this person I was trying to work with wasn't working. It wasn't a good match or fit. And I'm going to try to work with somebody else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. Like people, they DM me and they ask me questions. Oh, what can I do to do this? But it's like, it's not a one size fits all, like there's so much more that comes into place, from your values and beliefs to what are you really open to doing and trying, and it's a step by step. And that's why, we have this conversation. I really want people to like sit down and ask themselves, what do I feel like trying in this moment? What works for me and what doesn't? And then go find that and create that path for themselves. As long as they're healing and doing whatever it is that they need to do for themselves, it's okay with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's great for the planet as well. Like everybody's internal healing is great for their generation and breaking cycles, but it's great for like our whole collective.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, for sure. What would you tell a woman, Brielle, that has spent her whole life up until now just, holding it together, trying to be perfect, trying to fulfill all of her roles, and she feels like she doesn't have the space nor the time to actually start her journey in a more conscious way? What would you tell her?
I would tell her that was me. I am you, years back. That is why I'm in this work, as we've talked about. Yeah. And I guess, what I would have said to me back then is, you deserve the time and the space. You get to create that time and that space into your life, because it is going to make a difference in every area of your life.
Yeah.
It's going to make a difference in how you show up at your work and how you show up with your family, if you have children or if you have a spouse, and if not, your friendships, your relationships with maybe your parents, if they're still here. It's going to make a difference in all of your relationships. Yeah. And most importantly, it's going to make a difference in your relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And you are worthy of that time. That time can be created. And you don't have to hold it all together.
Yeah.
You don't have to live life for somebody else or in a way of what you are supposed to think it needs to look like, maybe because of society or because of your upbringing. You get to actually choose to live life for you and what actually brings you joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a choice to, kind of start that path of going, okay, this isn't working for me. This way of living, this stress or this, perfectionism that takes up so much mental space.
Yeah. And
energy, right? There's a much more easeful way of living.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is possible.
It is 100% possible. Like I said, I was there, and this is something I've overcome. And it's not because I'm special. Yeah. It's not because I have something that somebody else doesn't have that I could get through the struggles in my life that I've gotten through, which have been a lot. I had a 12-year eating disorder. I had anxiety, depression. I've had multiple, I've had sexual traumas later in life. I've had a lot that I've dealt with. And if I can work through those things, so can you, no matter what you're facing. Yeah. And you are worth doing so.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
If they were interested right now in trying out breathwork, what is, before they come to you, because you know that there's a level of commitment and kind of pressure that you feel oh my God, I'm going to be talking to this person and I don't know if I'm ready yet for this. But if they really want to try it out on their own first, are there any techniques or things that they could start doing?
Yeah, I would say start by noticing your breath. Specifically, notice your breath at various points of the day linked with certain emotions. So notice your breath when you're feeling stressed, consciously. Notice your breath when you're angry. Notice your breath when you're feeling sad. And start bringing attention to how certain emotions that you have actually you breathe in different ways depending on the emotion that you're feeling. Then you start to get an awareness around what you're actually feeling and how you're actually breathing. From there, you can start to regulate your nervous system by consciously slowing your breath. And one of my favorite things to tell people is just slow your breath. You can count, if that's helpful, to the count of 5, out through 5, but in through your nose and out through your mouth. When you notice you're holding your breath, or when you notice you're stuck in traffic and you're worked up because you're running late, in these moments, or your kids getting on your nerves, whatever it is, just do those 6 times. And you will reset your nervous system and your energy.
I love that. I will start applying that. Because I usually do deep breaths and I am usually conscious of my own breath. But, to consciously apply that technique in through the nose and out through the mouth.
And 6 breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. But really consciously slowing down your breath, just doing that 6 times can shift your energy. And that takes a minute, maybe a little bit more than a minute, depending how slow you're going. But it's that quick, right? And people don't realize that, I think. They don't realize that they do have that power within them to shift their emotional state so that they can respond to a situation versus reacting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was something that I heard once that said people don't know how to breathe. We live because we breathe, but we're never taught how to actually consciously breathe.
Totally.
Which is a whole other game.
Totally. Just like we're not taught how to regulate our nervous systems, how to feel the emotions, right? But it's all linked. Breath is a way to regulate your nervous system, right? So we're not living life in this constant fight, flight, freeze state.
Yeah, exactly. Which I feel like is the most important part for me, because I saw or I've seen a lot of people go into fight or flight or live in the fight or flight and not realizing that you have a conscious choice, that you can literally change that frequency, that you can change that way of living, that you can change that style of life that you lead, where society and in general, like the world is made up of so that you live that way. But
yeah, absolutely. And you can do it in the moment. And there's also a deeper point to that. And that is that a lot of times if we're in fight, flight, this is a lot of the trauma work that I've personally done and have been trained in, is when you're in that fight, flight, or freeze mode, yes, some of it can be coming from society and some of it can be coming as a re-trigger. You might be getting re-triggered something from childhood that was unhealed. And this wound, this trauma is actually trying to resurface for a reason, because it wants healing, because it wants space, because it wants to be seen, so it can be shifted and so it can be released from your body, because trauma lives in our body physiologically. It wants to move. It wants to express and it wants to release, but people aren't sure, how do I do that, right? And breath is just one way we can release trauma from our body. We can also do it through sound, and we can also do it through movement. Yeah. So a lot of times I just say, if you're feeling that energy, you can shake. Yeah.
Kundalini does it through movement and breath, which is very powerful as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Or you can make, you can sound like,
vibration,
and move that energy out in that way. Yeah.
I love that. Yes, for sure. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share that regards breath work and the work that you do that you feel like is relevant for our audience to learn about or to hear in this moment?
Yeah, I think I would just want to add that it doesn't have to be a scary thing, right? If you have an openness to it, find somebody that, if you feel drawn to actually do the type of breath work I facilitate, which are these bigger, longer kind of journeys where we're lying down and you're breathing in a certain way for like 20, 30 minutes. It's what you experienced with me, right? Find somebody that you feel safe with, a trained facilitator, practitioner to go on that journey with, so that you can be held, so that you feel safe to do it. If you're just practicing conscious breathing, that's one thing, and that's fine to do on your own in your day-to-day life. But if you're wanting to actually use breath work for trauma resolution, to change patterns, to break cycles, I 100% recommend the meditative breath work, but with a facilitator, somebody that's trained, being guided, especially to start. You can get to a point in your journey where you feel safe to do it on your own, which is what I do now personally. But I also still have people that guide me sometimes, because sometimes I like to be held by others, and it allows me to go deeper in my practice as well.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that. So, if anybody wants to connect with you, where can they find you?
Absolutely. They can find me on my Instagram. It's just Brielle Brasil, Brazil with an S, and that's where we're at.
Thank you. I've loved this conversation, and I hope that anybody that was listening was able to connect a little bit more with their own journey, and to have that courage to step forward, to know that it's okay to feel your emotions and to heal and to transform them and change your life.
And not only is it okay, it will be transformational for you, for sure. Right? And so, I've loved this conversation too. Thank you so much.
Me too. Yeah. So to end, we'll have the final 5.
Yeah.
How would you sum up your journey so far?
A complete 360.
Wow. I love that. Currently, where is your main focus on your personal healing journey?
Self-trust, even a deeper sense of self-trust, and surrendering.
I love that. Surrendering is a hard word. What is that piece of wisdom you see yourself repeating to your clients constantly?
Constantly, we're talking about feeling to heal. You get to feel to heal.
Feel to heal.
And it is safe for you to feel.
It is, I love that. What would you say to your past version from 5 years ago? So 2017.
Which is crazy, because that is also the year I met my husband, when I moved to Colombia.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I moved to Colombia, met my husband, and I would say to her, like, buckle up. Like, the deeper you go into your own healing, like, the better life is going to get.
I love that.
And the more you're going to be able to love yourself, the more you're going to be able to feel love from others, from my husband, from my son, for my son, giving love and receiving love in this equal, beautiful balance.
I love that. Thank you. What's your current life motto?
I would say currently my mantra on repeat is like everything is happening for me in perfect timing.
Yes, for me in perfect timing.
For me in perfect timing and trusting that.
Thank you, Brielle.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great to be here.
Yes, for sure. You guys, thank you for listening, for watching, for being here, for being brave enough to step into a new step, a new whole layer of your own journey. I really hope that you guys were able to take something meaningful and start applying it or start, trying it out in your own personal life. I would love to hear from you, to know what stuck with you, what helped you, what supported you, what intrigued you through our social media. As you know, El Arte del Amor Propio, Patricia S03. If not, it's right there in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for being here.